All right, we have a lot to get to. As I want to talk about the illegal alien from India who made an illegal U-turn on a Florida highway and killed three people tragically. I want to talk about that, who's responsible for this, and what's being done about it. This is very dangerous stuff happening on our roads. Check it out.
The governor promised it, and it happened. Florida's Lieutenant Governor Jay Collins flew out on the state jet, and today we watched him put Hollinger Singh on board to face justice back here. But not before Collins fired shots at California, calling out Governor Gavin Newsom by name.
3 lives lost because of Gavin Newsom, because of California's failed policies. We're done with that.
Florida's Lieutenant Governor Jay Collins in Stockton, California Thursday, just minutes before escorting 28-year-old Harjinder Singh in handcuffs onto the state jet. CBS 12 News tracked that jet landing in Stockton just before midnight Wednesday. Now it's headed back to St. Lucie County, where Singh faces 3 counts of vehicular homicide. Usually it's the U.S. Marshals who handle transports like this, but Collins made the trip himself. And before takeoff, he made it clear why.
That gentleman, that thug, fled back here because he knew those policies would defend him. That's what we're dealing with.
Troopers say Singh made an illegal U-turn on the turnpike near Fort Pierce, blocking all northbound lanes. A minivan slammed into his trailer, killing 3 people from South Florida.
I mean, it almost makes you wonder if this was is it just stupid or was this intentional? I don't know. Either way, this guy needs to get the maximum sentence.
Florida. The very next day, before any warrant was filed, Singh boarded a flight to California. Collins blamed sanctuary policies for putting him behind the wheel and pointed to his failed English and road sign test after the crash. Federal officials say he got just 2 out of 12 verbal questions right and 1 out of 4 signs.
Why did he get a license? If he couldn't speak English, he didn't know road signs, you're focused on something that's nonsense when he shouldn't have got a license in California to freaking begin with. It's wrong.
I think it's just common sense. You should be able to read the dang signs and speak the language you're driving a truck in.
Oh.
Federal records show Singh entered the U.S. illegally in 2018, received a work permit, and somehow obtained commercial licenses in both Washington and California. Multiple federal transportation agencies are now investigating how he was licensed. The company he drove for, White Hawk Carriers, is now also under federal investigation, flagged for safety violations far above the national average. The state jet was wheels up out of California around 2 p.m. Eastern. Collins on board with Singh. He's expected to arrive in Florida tonight, and if convicted, he could face up to 45 years in prison. In West Palm Beach, I'm Katie Benty reporting.
Yeah, please give this man 45 years, 15 years a person that he killed. Guy's a thug. Like he said, you've gone on a flight to evade what could happen to him. Because of sanctuary policies, you feel like he was going to be protected. But I want to talk about what's being done about this. Here's Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy giving his input.
Washington State should not have given him a license. They gave him a full-term CDL license just like he was a U.S. citizen. Shouldn't have happened. But then he went to California and he got a non-domicile license. We're going to investigate that. But here's the big thing, Will. In July, when this was in full effect, this driver was pulled over for speeding in New Mexico. And he can't speak English. He can't read road signs. And per our rule, he should have been taken off the road. New Mexico didn't take him off the road. They let him drive away and get to Florida, where he killed 3 people. So again, we are going to investigate all of these states, and we're going to take appropriate action. And there's a lot of tools that we have. I need all the information first before we do that.
Soon we'll get to what states offer CDLs to illegal aliens. So stay tuned for that.
But I'm going to use those tools to make sure that there's compliance in every single state in the country, because when I did this at the start, I talked about safety. And the left was saying, no, this is about immigration. This is about not treating people fairly. And I said, no, making sure you can speak the language and read the road signs is a direct threat, if you can't do it, to the American people who drive on those roads. The left lost their mind. And you see here how important this is to drive safety across the country, that you speak the language and can read road signs.
I don't see what's controversial about that. Why would anybody lose their mind over enforcing that? But of course, people want to say it's racist and etc. because they're stupid. It's like they don't care about people's lives, not just American lives, anybody on the road. It should be a priority, no matter what. All right, so here's more of this interview.
Let's follow up on accountability. Can you give me some insight into what tools you have at DOT to ensure that a state like Washington or a state like New Mexico or a state like California complies with the orders coming out of the executive branch? How can you make it so that Gavin Newsom is not going to give a CDL to someone who can't pass an English proficiency test?
So we have to investigate this, which is what we're doing. But there are serious consequences for states who don't follow the regulations as set by the Department of Transportation. We're going to have a big announcement coming in the coming days about what we're going to do, but it'll be painful for states who don't comply with us. And again, it's because that if you have a driver's license from California or from Washington, you don't just stay in those states. You actually can drive across the country, which is what we saw here in Florida. That's why we take our rules and requirements very seriously, and we're going to make sure that states comply with what we tell them to comply with, or they'll have consequences.
So to be clear, you have levers that you can pull at DOT that makes it very painful for these states that defy orders from DOT.
We have significant levers that we can pull, and I guarantee we're going to get.
I like to hear that. I do like to hear that because states will be held accountable. It is so dangerous to be on the road for many reasons. I mean, you can't just avoid driving, and you can do things to help prevent yourself from being a victim of this nonsense. Wearing a seatbelt is one. Just being very aware of who's around you, people driving erratically, not speeding, not drinking and driving. But people are getting killed because of nonsense like this. So the company Ron DeSantis had something to say about this. The company is being investigated. And then we'll get into what Marco Rubio has done.
People can't get permits to rebuild their homes in Southern California. We had an issue where you had an illegal alien truck driver that got a commercial driver's license in the state of California, employed by a California company, kill 3 people in Florida. This guy didn't even speak English. We're bringing him up on charges. He's going to face a lot. And I can announce, Jesse, that I said initially the company needs to be held accountable. And we've been working with the federal government, and they are pulling that company's license to do business because you cannot employ somebody who cannot read the road signs. Why is he spending all this time, trying to be fresh with President Trump? Why doesn't he do his job and protect the people? And as much as we somehow poke fun at California, oftentimes because of all the problems that the liberal policies have allowed, that is spilling over into the rest of the country. And Florida is a tragic example with 3 of our fellow citizens who are dead because of his sanctuary policies.
Yeah, it's like he sent a knife on wheels out there, and God bless those families. I can't even.
Tragic story. It really makes me upset. It really makes me upset that this whole thing happened. And this is look, I voted for Trump for a lot of reasons. And these are one of the positive effects that we're going to see from a Trump administration for all Americans. Safety is crucial. Safety on the road, safety in the air. With the air traffic control system out of date, the Trump administration they're doing things to bring it up to date and to make it more modern and make it safer, hire more air traffic controllers. I want to be safe when I fly. I don't want to have to worry about something going wrong, a near collision or whatever. And I also want to be safe on the road. I don't want people on the roads that should not be allowed to be driving. So this is one of the things that will have positive results for the entire country. I just felt like under Joe Biden, it was very unstable. They're just kind of just doing whatever they wanted, allowing whoever they want into the country, and allowing people to work in certain industries that shouldn't be employed in. All right, this is from Newsweek. American trucking industry reacts to Trump administration's halt on visas. A trade group representing the truck industry has reacted to Secretary of State Marco Rubio's announcement that the U.S. will be pausing work visas for truckers immediately in the interest of American safety. Nothing is more important than safety. And that's what government's job should be, is to keep the people safe. This is what we want our government to do, not investigate nonsense. Leave that for another day. In a statement released on Thursday, Chris Spear, president and CEO of the American Trucking Association, said his group supported the move and that the issuance of non-domiciled commercial driver's licenses, CDLs, needs serious scrutiny, including the enforcement of entry-level driver standards. Why it matters. Rubio's announcement followed a fatal crash on a Florida highway earlier this month involving a trucker from India, who officials later confirmed he was in the country illegally. That's what I've been talking about. Preliminary findings of an investigation by the Department of Transportation revealed that when questioned following the accident, the driver failed assessments on his English language proficiency as well as his understanding of highway traffic rules. While Rubio's announcement did not mention the crash and his focus on worker visas rather than CDLs, he said the increasing number of foreign truckers was endangering American lives. Depending on the length of the pause, however, this could potentially exacerbate the persistent trucker shortage already facing the U.S. by some estimates. This shortfall is expected to go over 100,000 drivers by the end of the decade. The safety is far more important than a worker shortage. We'll get workers. That'll work itself out. Following Rubio's announcement, a U.S. State Department spokesman told Newsweek that the pause would affect applicants hoping to operate commercial trucks with H-2B, E-2, and EB-3 visa classifications. The department would take all necessary steps to protect public safety, including Americans on American roads. In April, President Trump signed an executive order directing Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy to tighten regulations surrounding English proficiency for commercial drivers and ensure understanding of common sense highway rules. English language requirements are already included in federal regulations, but have been minimally enforced according to the president's order. The ATA sent a letter to the Trump administration thanking him for responding to his concerns around the uneven application of the existing regulations concerning English proficiency for CDL holders. As the ATA noted in its reaction to the latest announcement from Rubio, Secretary Duffy also launched a nationwide audit into states issuing non-domiciled CDLs licenses given to individuals who are not permanent residents of the U.S. We'll get into that after this. The states who are doing this. Our audit is about protecting the safety of families on the road and upholding the integrity of CDLs held by American truckers, Duffy said. Every state must follow federal regulations and ensure only qualified, properly documented drivers are getting behind the wheel of a truck. I mean, that's a big deal. You don't want somebody who can't read anything, who can't read a majority of the signs, getting behind this big rig. It's deadly. It can be deadly, as we see. On October 2024, the National Association of Truck Stop Owners, citing Labor Department data, said that the number of foreign-born truckers in the U.S. comprised around 18% of the total workforce. What people are saying. Secretary Rubio posts on X, the increasing number of foreign drivers operating large tractor-trailer trucks on the U.S. roads is endangering American lives and undercutting the livelihoods of American truckers. Chris Spear, the CEO of American Trucking Association, said at minimum, we need better accounting of how many non-domiciled CDLs are being issued, which is why we applaud Transportation Secretary Duffy for launching a nationwide audit in June upon our request. We also believe a surge in enforcement of key regulations, including motor carrier compliance, is necessary to prevent bad actors from operating on our nation's highways. and will continue to partner with federal and state authorities to identify where those gaps in enforcement exist. We also believe a surge in enforcement of key regulations, including motor carrier compliance, is necessary to prevent bad actors from operating our nation's highways, and will continue to partner with federal and state authorities to identify where those gaps in enforcement exist. On Thursday, Secretary Rubio said the pause would take effect immediately. Thank goodness something is being done about this nonsense. I mean, it's scary. I know people personally who like to take road trips, and one thing you have to worry about is are crazy drivers, people not obeying the laws, people who are driving who shouldn't be driving. There's always danger out there. That's one reason why I don't like taking road trips, is because the roads they can be very dangerous. But here's a list of states offering driver license to immigrants. Or are they illegal? I mean, unauthorized immigrants. Say they unauthorized. Of course, they fail to leave. Anyway. So, Washington, blue state. Oregon, blue. California, blue. Nevada, purplish, light blue. Not super liberal. It's not like California or Washington, but they did go red in 2024, but it's not quite there yet. Not all the way. Utah is a red state. Colorado, blue. New Mexico, blue. Minnesota, blue. Illinois, blue. New York, blue. Vermont, blue. Massachusetts, the bluest state in the country, that or Hawaii. I think it's Massachusetts, actually. Connecticut, blue state. Rhode Island, blue state. New Jersey, blue state. Maryland, blue. Delaware, blue. Home of Joe Biden. Or where Joe Biden came from. Virginia, hopefully it's going to be red. It's kind of purple, kind of blue. Trump didn't win that state in 2024. Youngkin did win his governorship race. Very good, and hopefully we'll see that trend continue as they have an election coming up this year. And look, of course, Hawaii. There's Hawaii. So a lot of these states here, these blue states, a lot of these are sanctuary states, are issuing CDLs to people who are not supposed to be in the country. And this is exactly what happened. This is a result of that. This played a big. I want to read this article for you from Blaze Media. If you have time, I told you I have a lot for you today. But I want to get down to. Okay, so I've already talked about a lot of this, but I want to go down a little bit about where the blame lies on this. Who's to blame? Who's to blame for this? I mean, there could be fingers could be pointed at multiple directions. DeSantis is much to blame for the highways of America becoming death traps, as is Newsom or a number of other governors. Picking on Newsom or DeSantis misses the point. Although they could be doing more to clean up their respective states, state DOTs and DMVs. Gavin Newsom's DMV and DOT in California have been erroneous on this issue and remain defiant in enforcing President Trump's executive order on enforcing English language proficiency. Research by American Truckers United shows that these two states are among at least 10 that after President Biden's 2021 trucking task force issued an unusually high number of limited term or non-domicile CDLs to recent arrivals. Many with questionable work credentials, or like the scumbag who killed 3 people through sob stories designed to avoid deportation. Florida in particular has seen a major highway CDL bribery scheme in which hundreds of licenses were sold for cash without exams or skill tests. Man, the state also harbors a cottage industry of substandard trucking schools. One graduate, Jean Marie St. Lot, a recent immigrant from Haiti, admitted after a deadly 2021 crash that his 3-week course taught him nothing about winter driving. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Why was this guy allowed to drive? I mean, this makes absolutely zero sense. No sense whatsoever. I don't know. That's crazy stuff. Let's check out this. There we go. No English, no problem. California has its own network of poor quality schools. Some even offering classes in Punjabi. I don't know if I said that correctly. Despite the federal requirement that commercial drivers be proficient in English, that's why President Trump's April executive order reinstating the English language proficiency rule was so significant. Since June, the DOT has sidelined 1,500 illiterate drivers. That's a start, according to the Department of Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy. But with over 400,000 new CDLs issued in the year after Biden's task force, many to drivers who couldn't meet basic standards. Removing 1,500 is barely a start. The scumbag himself was pulled over in Mexico just weeks before his fatal Florida crash. We talked about that in the video. Yeah. Shorted. I don't know. This is infuriating. The shorted scam. This outrage goes beyond one illegal alien with a fraudulent CDL. The entire industry is being hauled out by foreign workers, foreign drivers who lack training, language skills, often legal status. The American Trucking Association has fueled the crisis for decades, peddling a false narrative of driver shortage to justify endless subsidies for CDL meals instead of rising pay to retain drivers. Mega carriers embrace turnover rates of above 100%, cycling through cheap recruits while pocketing taxpayer money. Today, that model is reinforced by NGOs and nonprofits aligned with Biden-era immigration policies. You see, this is what I'm saying. Reckless stuff, just, letting anything fly and not really, the goal is to get as many people as they could into the country. And they didn't really take account into American people's safety, the lives of people right in this country. I mean, we've seen instances where people who are here in the country, maybe illegally, have been killed by other illegal aliens by drunk driving or heinous acts. We've seen it happen. So the very people they want to protect are not being protected. Stupid. Pure stupidity. Yeah, but this guy was here in the country. So here's a little timeline here for you. So he was deported in 2018 and was detained 2 days, I read, after crossing the border, but was released on a $5,000 bond in January 2019, telling U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services that he feared to return to India. He has been in immigration proceedings ever since. Under the first Trump administration, he was denied a work permit. That's good. But he was granted one in 2021 under the Biden presidency, which details which sparked a social media spat between California Governor Newsom and the Office of Department of Homeland Security. The scumbag received his Washington CDL in 2023 and his California license in 2024, the DOT says. Yeah. I mean, is Trump to blame for this because he was not deported? I mean, he was being deported, but then he claimed this, that he feared to go back to his country. In that article from Blaze, I'm not saying Trump was responsible. Don't get me wrong. That's not what I'm saying. But the article before that I was reading from Blaze Media, the person who wrote that did say that Trump did allow him to stay in the country, and Biden gave him this work permit. So there's blame on all sides. Let me know what you think about that. Is Trump to blame for this? He came to the country, was arrested 2 days later, and then he was going to be deported, but they allowed him to stay on he got a $5,000 bond, and his immigration proceedings took years. It didn't help that Joe Biden was in office for 4 years, and maybe nothing was done about this guy. You know, who knows? Biden, obviously, Biden allowed him to stay, allowed him to get this work permit. So let me know what you think, where the blame lies on this. And I think there are a lot of issues there. As I read, there are issues in a lot of states with the trucking industry. I'm so glad this is actually being worked out, because it is so important that people are safe on the roads. Real quick before I close, I want to play this for you. Migrant trucker from Africa kills 3 in Nevada after going the wrong way. Man, can you imagine what those people went through? The parents went through? Wow. Not enough. Not enough. The guy should have been in jail for 50 years. He should be locked up for 50 years. This type of stuff infuriates me. I get so upset seeing these truck drivers killing people. You can't even speak our language, which is now the official language of the United States. You can't even speak English. Yeah, I don't expect to go to Germany or wherever, another country, Japan, and drive trucks and not even speak the language. I mean, those are just some examples. I wouldn't expect to do that, but we've allowed it here for some reason. Look, I don't know what's happening in other countries, but I do know that fatality rates for accidents are a lot lower in other places like Japan or Germany. Yes, smaller populations, but very strict rules in Japan for a lot of ways. This guy should never, can't even speak English, driving on the wrong side of the road. He blamed the wind. Seriously? Makes me so mad. But I will leave that right there. I had a long video for you. Hope you enjoyed. I mean, this is a sad situation, but I hope you got some valuable information out of this tragic story. Subscribe, and I will see you next time. Thank you. Take care.